who still don't get it.
Yeah.
Can you talk briefly about where teachers would see the assignment results other than the heat map, right? Because
Yeah.
once you start
Yeah.
creating these assignments and quizzes, is there a page with all that data that comes back one by one,
Yes.
or okay?
Yeah. So this is that's a great question, and would be disconcerting if teachers weren't able to see the results of their assignments. So this is kind of an overall view. We think of this as a way to keep a pulse on your class, always being able to check in. It's updated in real time. So say you're walking around in your class with a tablet or whatever, you can see how students are performing at any time overall.
So this heat map changes.
The heat map changes. This is a dynamic thing that will allow you to always kind of see where your class is at. This data, or these colors rather, are populated based on student practice, quiz results, assignments results, and it's just kind of an amalgam of all those things in order for us to diagnose how well your students understand a certain topic.
Do those, before you answer the other question, do these colors correlate to the student practice colors cards?
Yes. Yes. So you'll see that the student practice colors are a little more of a spectrum because kids need immediate feedback and need to know if they're doing well. So these will kind of change between, red and, between certain colors. You'll see a purple here, a lighter blue here, but they correspond with these ranges here. So you have 4 colors because we didn't want to make like a 10-color spectrum for you to have to look at, but they do align with how your students are performing here. So if I created an assignment and want to look at the results of just that assignment.
Yeah, sorry, where's the purple? Because I noticed there's purple on the student cards.
Oh, yeah, so what I was mentioning is that as your students progress, they'll start obviously at blank, and then 0 will be orange, and then they work up toward purple and then to red. So basically, we wanted this to represent just, pretty straightforward 4 different categories of how they're performing. Students, on the other hand, need some sort of indication of transition other than just 4 dramatic color shifts. So once they get above...
Was it 50 or something?
69. Once they get above 69%. So once they get above 50, it'll transition from purple to red. Once they get above 69, so into the 70 range, they'll hit this yellow color. But we just didn't want kids to have red from 0 all the way up through 69% because they feel like they're making progress and that color's not changing. It's a little disheartening.
Yeah. Got it.
So that's just kind of, you'll see each of these is 10%, and then this is 69%, 70%. So we just wanted to reward kids a little bit for progressing. So do you have any other questions about
so then back to where the assignment data and quiz data comes from?
Yep, so you'll just click on assign work, and as you create more work for your students, you'll see that they'll populate here. You can, after your students have taken an assignment, you'll have the option to archive them, which means it'll declutter and remove them from your homepage, but will obviously maintain that data for you. So as assignments age and this page begins to be more cluttered, I would recommend archiving assignments. If you want to look at the results, though, you'll just click on View Results.
Does each class have a page like this, or as a teacher with 2 or 3 classes, all of my classes show up on that page?
So you'll be able to view by class.
Okay.
So these results enable you to really drill down instead of just saying, like, overall, Hannah understands this topic this well. This will enable you to look at, on a question-by-question basis, kind of how your students performed on a quiz or assignment that you created. So if you want to, you can hover over each question and see what it was. You'll be able to see green check mark, which means Hannah got this correct on her first try. This red check here with a number next to it means on her 3rd attempt, Hannah was able to get this correct. So the remediation popped up for her. She was able to kind of figure out what the mini lesson was telling her and get the answer correct on her next try. And we can actually see each of her attempts along the way if we want to. Most infrequently, too, we'll see these red X's. And this means that on her 3rd attempt, Sydney said, I don't get this, I'm going to skip over it. And so those are the ones that should call out to you. The mini lesson isn't hitting home with her. This topic is just something that she's not gelling with. So you can look for a few of these. And if one student, for example, if you see a red X with a 1 next to it for the first 8 questions, maybe the student just didn't eat breakfast that morning or is in kind of a bad mood, and you'll create another assignment for them. But otherwise, it kind of calls out that a student is really having trouble understanding a certain question type or topic.
So even on the quizzes, kids are offered a second or third try on it?
Yeah, that's a great question too. So we're looking at a quiz here. You'll see percentages, and then you'll see the number of attempts. If I am doing an assignment, and I get question 2 wrong, it'll say, hey, try again. Here's a hint. Here's a mini lesson. And if I get it correct on my 4th try or 5th try or 6th try, we give the student credit because we're rewarding them for being persistent and kind of like remediating on their own, and which is, oftentimes the point of classwork or homework. On quizzes, if I get question 2 wrong, it'll say nope, and then it'll take me to question 3. After I finish the quiz, though, it'll say, do you want to go back and see the answers you got wrong and fix them? So students will be able to fix the questions they got wrong just because it's good practice, but that will not change their score.
So on this quiz, all those red checks are where kids went back after the quiz was done?
Yep. And so they still have their percentages here. You can still see how your kids did. This is indicative of their first attempt at each question. And then these kids went back.
So can you give a retake with a different set of questions?
Yeah, so, you would all you do there is just if you create an assignment or quiz, it'll always scan each student who's assigned question histories to make sure they're not seeing the same questions. So you'll just choose the same subcategories, create a new assignment or a new quiz, and your students will get all new questions.
Now, are you working with schools that use standard-based grading as well?
Can you
define
that quickly?
So translating these percentages into, instead of letter grades, translating them into exemplary, meets, approaching below.
Yep. So yes, there are a few other schools that are using standards-based grading. Do you so just purely out of curiosity, how have you kind of reframed the way you think about grades since introducing that?
So it's interesting. I don't think it's perfect, but and I'll take the Membean example as well, because that's what we've encountered. How do you put that numerical percentage or grade into standard? And if they're meeting standard, it's probably 80% or above. Exemplary would be the 90%, and then approaching would be 70, and then anything below would be below.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I had in my mind as well. And kind of when a pretty common question to get here is what would you consider sufficient mastery?
Yeah.
And so that obviously is something we don't want to prescribe, but one of the most often things we see is teachers say above 80 is representative of mastery because it shows that they understand the skill, which is kind of in sync with what you were just mentioning with how you think about the correlation between letter or number based grading and performance standards. And so we don't have a quick conversion table or anything like that. But if we think that we've worked really hard on kind of how we understand mastery and how we think it represents student performance. So if you want to convert that using the rough, kind of conversion you just gave me,
What's
I would stand behind the fact that this is representative of student
I understand the
understanding.
green represents mastery, right? And the yellow, what do you call that category? Do you call it anything or not?
Yeah, let's jump over to the progress heat map here. So when we think about these things, we see the ranges. We call it excellent, good, fair, and low.
Okay.
So it aligns actually really closely with exactly what you were just saying.
Yeah.
And so if you want to look at it here, you can line it up that way. The student heat maps will also give them an idea, although there will be a few colors, obviously, beneath 69. And so that'll enable you to kind of drill down and look at the results of one quiz or one assignment. If there's one question that seems especially tricky for your kids, you can obviously hover over the question and see what it was, but you can also scroll down to the bottom and You can see the percentage of students that got each question correct on their first tries. And you can also see the average number of attempts it took each kid to get a question correct.
On both assignments and quizzes?
Yeah, so you'll be able to see that 19% of students got this question correct on their first try, and it took them 2.5 attempts on average. We'll see what that question was. Sure enough, yep. So it's a last name that ends in Z, and it's plural. So it's obviously that would be tricky for almost everyone in the world. So that kind of calls out to his teacher. Maybe I should spend a little more time, or just kind of clarify this in front of my class.
And